Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Hey everybody, old Captain here, and this is Asshole Consultant slugging through it today. Young Zach writes, Aaron, the United States dollar is sometimes referred to as the world reserve currency of choice. I don't completely understand this. In the past, I have read an article where this is described as an exorbitant privilege. Other nations, especially Russia, China, seem to have a longer-term agenda to replace the dollar in this regard with another currency or group of currencies. Please provide clarification and guidance that you feel is appropriate for your viewership. So let's just explain what a reserve currency is. It helps in the global economy, like any economy, to have one standard currency. Okay, you can see this on the global level. You can even see it in our nation's history, multiple nations' history. You don't have to go that far back, just 120 years ago, maybe in the United States, where different forms of currency existed. We had U.S. dollars, but there were silver dollars. There was gold. Banknotes, different banks issued their own currency, had different banknotes and silver certificates. This all roughly served as a currency. Now, it became confusing because you have multiple currencies, and you're like, well, what's the exchange rate between the dollar and between the silver and the gold? And what is this banknote legitimate? Is the bank still in business? I don't know. It's 50 miles that way. We'd have to go ride a horse. So you can see where problems occur having multiple currencies. We'll now apply that to the globe, to the world. Well, yeah, we could trade yen for francs, and we could exchange won for pesos, and then we get dollars for this, but inevitably it will just naturally occur that, hey, there's got to be one currency we all kind of agree upon for the sake of ease and efficiency. And for all of you economists and nerds, yes, I know I'm simplifying this a lot, but I'm translating from economic speak to normal people. So usually this currency, in the past it was the British pound. It was like the world standard, pound sterling. Now it's the United States. How did that happen? Well, a couple things. One, we won World War II, and two, we're the only basically industrialized economy that wasn't blown to hell. And so our dollars actually had backing. It had economic value behind it, not to mention it was a reserve backed up by silver, precious metals. So it says we're going to have the United States dollar. Now there's also the petrodollar, but I'm not going to get into that. But what it basically boiled down to is that the world said, hey, if we're going to conduct business, let's say you are Mexico, a relatively stable economy, and you want to do some transaction with Venezuela. Well, Venezuela ain't exactly stable, and I don't want those Venezuelan pesos. I don't really trust it. So we're going to put the contract, whether it's business transactions, governmental transactions, purchasing, labor, whatever, we're going to put the contract in a currency we all trust and rely upon, and that's the U.S. dollar. We have trust and faith in the U.S. dollar. So through, in part, design and also in part through history because of World War II, the United States has been the world's reserve currency since World War II, essentially. And what that allows is people to make large transactions in a currency that is stable, that everyone agrees upon. Now, when this happens, something very interesting occurs when you get world reserve currency status. Most currencies, if I came up to you with Venezuelan pesos, say, hey, I'd like to buy something, and I gave you Venezuelan pesos, you say, Claire, get the fuck out of here. What am I going to do with this? I can't transact that anywhere. That is true because only that Venezuelan peso can be spent in Venezuela. It is relegated to that country's economy or its borders. But if you have a world reserve currency, you can essentially buy the world. And that's where they're saying it's an exorbitant privilege. Because everybody will accept dollars, now our purchasing power goes from what is produced within the borders of the United States, or we can buy within the borders of the United States, to the world. And you can see this, like if you go to, let's take Florida. Me and my buddy down south. We went to, not Bermuda, the Bahamas. And we had U.S. dollars. And we could go to the Bahamas, and they will gladly take our U.S. dollars. You don't have to exchange it, I think, into the Bahama dollar? I don't even know what the currency was. We didn't even exchange it. They took credit cards. They took U.S. dollars. It was the economy was, quote, dollarized. And so I went and I bought whatever I wanted in the Bahamas. Now, can the guy from the Bahamas, my Bahamian equivalent, come to Florida, just fly the 30 minutes over, take his Bahama dollars and start buying stuff in Miami? No, he can't. He's got to get your Bahama dollar. We don't know what that is. What crazy banana dictatorship you got going on there? So now, just because of reliability, trust, and faith, the United States dollar, or any world reserve currency, can essentially, it quadruples, quintuples, tenfolds, multiple times its purchasing power and its value. Just because of faith and trust. We didn't produce anymore, we didn't make anymore, and as you start to notice, we have a lot of debt. We're not even reliable with our own damn currency. But it doesn't matter. We have the U.S. dollar. We can go to Canada. Go do Canada again. They'll take U.S. dollars. You bring Canadian dollars. Like, well, I don't want those Canadian dollars. They will gladly take American dollars. So that's where the exorbitant privilege comes in. Now, a country that has a world reserve currency has a choice. It can manage its currency responsibly, keeping its value up, or it can basically ass rape the world. That's what we've decided to do. And a lot of people say, especially in the conservative libertarian side, they say, well, how come the U.S. dollar hasn't collapsed? Why is the U.S. dollar going up? Look at how much debt we have. How is this even possible? The only reason this is possible is because we have the world's reserve currency. We effectively have a printing press. It is like printing gold. We could just keep on printing U.S. dollars, bail ourselves out, buy ourselves a whole luxury of crap we don't deserve, like social programs and welfare. We can launch wars. We can do whatever we want because we're the U.S. Economy. It's like that. And we have been very much, especially with Obama, we have very much been mismanaging our money with quantitative easing. We just print off more dollars. We bailed out all of our banker scum. We bailed out all of the Gen X. I'm going to get myself a car and a Beamer and a McMansion. We bailed out all those fucking housing bubble douchebags. We're bailing out currently all the morons who are majoring in worthless liberal arts shit, and it's fine. We'll just print off more money because we got the federal, we got the U.S. dollar. Now, this becomes upsetting because in the long run, it does undermine the currency, the world reserve currency, if you start to undermine it. And a lot of countries are like, hey, we got these U.S. dollars or dollar-denominated assets like U.S. savings bonds and stuff, and say, hey, whoa. You're printing off those dollars, and now our investments are technically undermined by this. And there's also some issues with currency wars. I won't go into that a lot, but we want to have a weak currency so that our exports are more sellable overseas. And so it's, quote, a race to the bottom. You may have heard this. So everyone wants their currency to be weak, and so there's an incentive to print, but you want to keep interest rates low and all. A larger point is this: we're abusing our world reserve currency status, and foreign countries don't very much appreciate it. So this gives rise to what you mentioned, Russia and China attempting to come up with an alternative world reserve currency. I think they even set up their own world reserve bank, or the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They want to say, hey, we're the ones producing all this stuff. We actually don't have anywhere near the amount of debts you guys do. Why is your currency so valuable? Why do you guys get to have this special status? And why do our currencies have to suffer and economies indirectly have to suffer for it? So they're trying to set up their own. Now, here's the problem. This is very interesting. More or less, what makes a world reserve currency is trust and faith. Technically, production has to be there too, but trust and faith also has to. That is really what drives it, because people say, I don't trust my own home currency. I don't trust most other countries' currencies. I'm going to trust the Swiss franc. I'm trying to think of something else that might be more reliable. Tradition, the Norwegian kroner. These countries are very small in terms of population economics, and much as they probably would like to have the world reserve currency, it would really destroy their exporting business. But again, not going to get too into the details. Where was I going with this? Oh, so you want to? It's trust. It's trust. You want to find a country that has trust. So when you look at Russia and China, go to transparencyinternational.org or just look up the corruption index, and you'll see why, even though we are basically really fucking over the world in terms of just printing off money, we're completely abusing our position of power as a world reserve currency, the US dollar. And the way we get away with it is because we're not as corrupt as Russia and China and all these other countries. So if you look at the corruption index, you're going to see, bad as things are here in the United States, we're actually a lot more trustworthy when it comes to, I know this sounds crazy, government and business. No matter how corrupt you think things are. So you go to Russia and China, they're horrendous. They score horribly on the corruption index. And so people, when they say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not going to go Russia? Wait a minute, huh? Wait, I don't know about that, Putin. You're invading the Ukraine. What's going on? China, you guys come up with inflated economic data and figures, and plus we got to bribe everybody. I'm not terribly putting a lot of full backing and faith in the Chinese yuan or the renminbi. But anyway, so that's why it's still, like, you may have heard this saying before, we're the last horse in the glue farm, or we're the hottest fat chick at the party. We're the least ugly person in the group or whatever, and that's the United States. We're horrible. We're horrible, but pretty much everyone is even worse than us when it comes to corruption, reliability, and having the qualities and traits that makes a good world reserve currency. So that's what it is. That's why it's an exorbitant privilege. And if you understand that, you can start to understand a couple other things that are happening on the international news scene and the currency markets. And if you want, John Rubino? What's it? Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Kerry Lutz, Rubino. Kerry Lutz interviews a lot of people, and that's a great place to go and learn about world reserve currency and exchange rates and currencies in general, and how this all plays out internationally and economically, and with an obvious bias or hinge or twinge spin on precious metals. But he interviews some very interesting, Andy Hoffman from Miles Franklin. He gets some really good people on it. So if you listen to a couple of his podcasts or his interviews, you'll really start to understand this a lot more. But anyway, but that's what a world reserve currency is. That's kind of why we're getting away with having a debt to GDP of 110%, and there's still no financial crisis yet, and the currency hasn't collapsed, and our economy is slow. But why most people would be Greece, would be collapsing. But we could get away with it because we're the world's reserve currency. Anyway, best of luck to all of you. Toodles.